Good evening. My name is PJ Capozzi, Superintendent of Schools for Meridian CUSD 223. I'm here tonight to preview what is going to take place at the March 24th Board of Education meeting. Tonight we have a rather sizable agenda, but there's not a ton of things of extreme importance in terms of decisions that are going to be made. We're going to start several important discussions, however, that will have ramifications for subsequent board meetings as they progress down the line. One item which we always take a close look at is our year-to-date expenses versus our projected expenditures and our revenues versus our expected revenues. So basically what we do is we take what we plan for in the budget to compare it to where we are. Each month we do this just to make sure that there's accountability for how monies are being spent. This month is no different than the past several months, where we're projected to come in right at or a little bit under what we projected for the year in terms of expenditures, which is what we can control. In terms of revenues, the state of Illinois makes it very tenuous. So we are still on shaky ground, and they owe us a handful of payments. In terms of categorical payments for the remainder of the year, they owe us over $2 million. So whenever you hear about the state budget crisis, it always makes us nervous because we're not sure when and if we are going to receive our next payments. At this point, we are hopeful that a crisis that is occurring with our colleges and community colleges does not occur within our schools. Other things which I'll highlight in our report is I have worked with other area superintendents to investigate a health insurance cooperative. This would allow us to maintain our own independence in terms of our plan design, but share the risk with other districts. If any of you are familiar with shopping insurance plans, the more people that are involved in a plan, generally the better the rates because the risk is mitigated. We're going to talk about potential savings. At this point, it looks like we could save about 5% on our health insurance, which is about $60,000. So while $60,000 might not sound like a lot in terms of a $18 million budget, when you consider that is the cost of a teacher, that is a significant savings. So we are investigating that. We will talk about it in depth tonight, and perhaps at our next meeting we'll be voting to join that cooperative. Other items I will highlight tonight is that the bond work that we have been talking about in terms of receiving funding in order to complete our health, life, safety work, which has been an agenda item on and off again for about 11 months. We finally are really at a stage of completion where we are finalizing and closing on the bonds in the coming weeks. We have the final projections in terms of what that financially will look like for our taxpayers, so we'll go over that. And we will be able to start our work in May as anticipated. So we're very excited to take care of work that has been deferred for over 10 years in order to make our schools healthier and more technologically accessible for our students. Two other quick updates that I'll share in my report is that we were able to make a correction to Medicare payments that had been existing in the district for a while, where we had been overpaying Medicare, in which we're going to recoup about $10,000 or $12,000 from the federal government. So that's always a plus. And also wanted to talk about E911. E911 is a federal program that, based on the way that Illinois statutes are written, schools do not need to comply with, which is fascinating. But the long and the short of it is that E911, when you work through that program, ensures that whenever a 911 call were to be made from any classroom, it identifies the particular classroom to our first responders so that they could get better service. Prior to going through E911, it would just show up as either Meridian School District or whatever you would see, like when we call, if there's an attendance issue, whatever that caller ID number would be. In switching to E911, which costs us about $5,500 as a one-time expense, is a way for us to make our schools safer and able to better respond in case of emergency. So I'm really excited that that process is done, and we are now live on E911 for all of our classrooms, all of our buildings. Other items I'll ask the board to discuss is we need to consider a new driver's education vehicle. It would not be in this fiscal year, it would either be on the next fiscal year or the following. I'm going to ask the board for guidance on whether they would prefer me to use the Illinois bid system or to bid through local vendors. There's positives and negatives to each of those decisions. Obviously, the positive of using a local vendor is that we would be stimulating the local economy. The positive in using the state bid process is that a lot of the front work is done for us, and we know that the bid process is done with obviously meeting every state requirement. The bad news is when you use that state bid requirement, it can take up to 8 months to receive your vehicle. So there's pros and cons we'll weigh and ask the board to discuss. The big thing that the board will discuss today is ESP compensation. Our support staff has not received raises in quite some time, so we're going to bring forward the information in terms of what the board would like to consider and as potential compensation increases for our support staff. As some of you may know, most of our support staff positions start at minimum wage, which isn't really competitive locally. However, we still are able to attract and retain a good deal of really highly qualified staff. We would like to continue to keep them on board. 2% raise would cost the district around $41,000, a 1% around $20,500, and so on and so forth. You can figure out the increments, so we'll discuss that. In that conversation, we'll also discuss the bus driver shortage and the alterations that had to be made as a result of it. A couple other procedural things will be approved, such as treasurer's bond and our continued enrollment in IHSA for athletics. One other procedural note will be discussed as I asked the board to consider moving the September 2016 meeting up 1 week as the state superintendent's conference was scheduled, which is important that I attend for the same week that we had the board meeting currently scheduled. And the last item, which I will leave you with, which I'm very excited about, is we've been able to reach an agreement to put an ATM inside Silman Valley High School. This will be of great convenience for our faculty, staff, students, and community when they attend school and sporting events. And so it'll be, again, a good partnership where both sides will benefit between the school system taking a percentage of the proceeds from transaction fees and also allowing a local business, Stillman Bank, to gain access in terms of where they're able to put their ATMs and being in a very crowded spot where there's going to be lots of traffic. So we're excited for this partnership, and we think we're going to increase the service and benefit to our community as a result. As always, anyone with questions, feel free to call me at 815-980-0310 or contact me through the website or via email. Thank you, and make it a great day.